Yo, 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 what is going on, real lovers? It's your man, J Immanuel, back with a new episode. Today, I got a very special guest, a returning guest. My girl, Makini, is joining me. What's up with you?
What's up? What's up?
Oh, man,
Thanks
yo,
for
I'm
having me.
I'm so blessed to have you on here. Like you've been rocking with me since the audio podcast. Now to have you come on here, now that I'm over on YouTube, we're about to have some fun today. I got an email that came in from a young lady who wants to know about dating after the divorce. Are you ready to get into that today?
Let's get it. Let's get
All
it.
right, cool. So let me get my phone out. Let me bring up her message real quick. All right, so here we go. So this one came in from a real lover by the name of Sabrina. Here's what she said. Jay, I married very young at 23 years old, and I stayed in that marriage for nearly 7 years, far too long. I felt so traumatized after the divorce that I refused to date or to talk to any man romantically. I've been divorced for 5 years and I want to marry again and have some kids in the future, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to start dating again. I've been doing the inner work on myself, but I'm not sure what else I need to do before I start dating. I'm lonely and I desire a real connection, but is that enough? How can I know when I'm really ready to start dating again? So that's what Sabrina wants to know. Makini, what are your thoughts after hearing that?
That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is.
That is a lot to unpack. Okay, so we may have to like go back to the message bit by
we,
bit, but
I'm gonna have it right here.
okay. So for starters, I get it. I've been there. I got married at 25. I was married for 5 years, but I was in that relationship for almost 9 years.
Oh
So
wow,
I get
wow,
it.
yeah.
I get it. First of all, I think, everyone's healing process is different. Everyone's
Mhm.
healing time is different. There's no measurement or specific time block that I would ever recommend to give any particular person in terms of like when it's time to
Yeah.
get back into the dating pool. I think a huge part of what she said is that she's been doing the inner work.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, whether you're in a relationship or single, doing the inner work is super important.
Yeah.
I think it's vital
Mhm.
to all aspects of our life to do the inner work and prioritize that. So, geez, where do I start? Okay, so it's been 5 years and she
Yeah.
hasn't dated since the divorce.
That's what it said. Yo, let me pull it up just to make sure. She says, I've been divorced for 5 years. And yeah, I'm assuming she hasn't dated because she said she felt so traumatized after the divorce that she refused to date or to talk to any man romantically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, first things first, figure out what went wrong in the
Right.
marriage in the first place. I think that's a starting point, and it sounds as though she was deeply hurt
Hmm.
by the other person, which is triggering her to feel this like PTSD and, afraid to get back out there. And I can relate. So starting with like the reason why things went wrong is at the end of the day, I feel like we co-create every experience.
Right.
um Even if someone has done us wrong, there is a percentage in there where we contributed to that experience. I'm not saying she needs to take ownership for anything. I don't know what happened, but what I'm saying is like, okay, so let's say for example, if the other person, I don't know, cheated or betrayed her in some way or whatever. Okay, processing why that happened, how that happened, and if there wasn't anything that she could have done differently, then give herself some grace, but understand that not all human beings are the same. So because one person hurt you doesn't mean everybody's going to hurt you. I know it's hard, especially when you're like looking at the entire male species and being like, yeah, they're all going to hurt me.
Right. It just becomes something that every man gets that label on him.
Yes. So I think that that perspective of like, all of them are going to hurt me. It's, if you have a situation with a girlfriend, you get into an argument with the girlfriend, you're no longer friends. It doesn't mean you're not going to ever have any more friends because that one particular,
Uh-huh.
girlfriend did you wrong. So, perspective is everything.
It is.
I also feel like giving herself 5 years is a long time, yes. But giving herself grace to grieve. When you go through a divorce, it is a whole grieving process. You've lost so much. You feel like you've lost the idea of the future that were attached to. You've lost a physical partner. You've lost, sometimes you lose friendships, sometimes you lose finances. There's so much loss in
Yeah.
divorce. So it's a whole grieving process. And I'm not going to get into all the 5 steps of grieving, but give
Mhm.
yourself that time to grieve. And like I said in the beginning, because there's no specific time frame,
Mhm.
you can't say to yourself, well, it's been a year. I should be able to get back out there. Or it's been
Mhm.
5 years. I should be able to get back out there.
Mhm.
I was on a panel for the Dear Future Wifey podcast, and there was a woman on there who it's been 10 years since she's been in a
Mhm.
relationship. But
Mhm.
in that 10 years, not only has she been working on herself, but she's been building her relationship with God.
Mhm.
And she does not feel that she's ready to get back
Mhm.
out there. I was dating during my divorce, and
Mhm.
I don't necessarily recommend that because I was not emotionally available. I didn't have the
Mhm.
capacity to be in
Mhm.
another relationship. Um, but I do think 5 years is a good amount of time. I
Yeah.
think during those 5 years of grieving and processing and understanding what happened, in order for you to apply the lessons
Mhm.
that you've learned doing the inner work,
Mhm.
it requires you to actually be connected to another person to see if those things have worked,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
To sharpen those things.
Yes.
Like, sometimes we go through a breakup and, you take the time to heal, but
Mhm.
then we're single and saying, yeah, I've learned my lesson. I'm ready. I've moved on. But then you get into a relationship with someone and realize that there's still lots of work to do, or,
Yeah.
maybe past, and even if it's a healthy
Mhm.
relationship, there's still friction and things to work on because of
Right.
our past experiences. At the end of the day, we
Mhm.
are, people walking around with our trauma responses all day long, our things that have
Yeah.
happened to us, our upbringing, our belief systems, all of those things. So I feel like she needs to, or I would recommend she try.
Mhm.
Like, no, you
Yeah.
don't have to jump into a serious relationship with somebody. Like,
Mhm.
start hanging out with people, get to know people, see if there is
Yeah.
someone that you feel a spark with, or
Mhm.
getting close to. But 5 years is a long time. I just
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and, it's so interesting because you said exactly what I was thinking, which is at some point, you just gotta get back out there and try it, and that can just to be able to figure out, "Am I ready or not?"
yeah,
But it's like, you're not really gonna know until you put yourself in that position, and I don't mean to compare, like, one to one, but this is kinda what came to my mind, like, an athlete that goes through an injury, right? Especially if it's a major injury, there's going to be apprehension to get out there and put weight on that foot or that leg or that
yeah,
arm. And there's comes a time when your physical trainer is going to be like, yo, you got to do it.
yeah,
Like you have to try that. Like, no, hold on, doc. Like lifting that type of weight, my shoulder, but you got to try it. You got to do it.
yeah,
And I kind of look at it this in a similar way. I'm not going to say the same way, but it's like you've been hurt, you've gone through the healing process for a period of time, and it's like now you got to test it out. We got to see how much have you healed.
yes,
Like clearly we're not about to throw, like, using the athlete, we're not about to throw you back in the game, but in this closed safe environment we can test it out a little bit. And it's the same thing, like if you go out, you're like, okay, I haven't been in a relationship, let me go and date, let me get on the app, let me talk to somebody, let me go on a date, let me be open to somebody that I know, you know connecting me with somebody that they think would be a good person for me to go out for coffee with or something,
right.
right? Just being open to it is like just putting yourself out there and trying. And that's kind of what I thought.
Yes, and to add to 2 things to add to what you said.
Mhm.
So one, the example of the athlete and having the trainer.
Mhm.
I think in all aspects of our lives, we need experts, coaches, mentors to help us
Mm.
along the way. So I
Right.
definitely recommend, if she has not done so as yet, to seek counseling or a therapist.
Hmm.
relationship counseling, speaking to a therapist about what she's been through, how to process that, how to heal from that, to be given the tools. Because I feel like sometimes we spend all this time saying that we're doing the inner work, we're reading the books, we're listening to the podcast, all this stuff. Yes, we're absorbing the information, but are we actually doing the work? So
Hmm.
having someone to
Right.
hold us accountable, having someone who is an expert in that field to help guide us through and give us the tools, and the principles and all those things to apply, even when we
Yeah.
start to connect with people. And then to add to what you're saying, like, are you going anywhere to meet anybody? Like, you
Right.
know, I'll be honest, like, being an introvert and the pandemic hitting, I have
Hmm.
embraced being inside. I don't want to go
Hmm.
nowhere. So, how is this person going to give themselves the chance or the opportunity to connect with people? Like, are you going places where you can meet people? Are
Right.
you going places where you can meet like minded people? Whether it be
Hmm.
personal development conferences or, what have you, but going places you can meet quality people, people who
Right.
are, on the same vibe as you. So, putting yourself out there and being in the environment to actually attract what it is that you seek. And I think now all these thoughts are coming to mind, but it's like even our perspective of the situation. So I once
Hmm.
had a client who came to me and was just talking about she's had so many issues with men. She's working on herself and she doesn't want to be in a relationship. She just kept saying all these things that she doesn't want. And I said,
Okay.
but is that true though? Oftentimes
Mm.
because of our insecurities or because of our shame or anything that we're feeling, inside, we say these things that we don't really mean. And when I
Hmm.
got to the root of it, it's like she does want to be in a relationship. She would love to be in a
Hmm.
healthy relationship. She would love to be connected to someone that understands her. She would love to, work on all these things. But she was saying, I don't want no man. I don't need this. I don't want that. And once she shifted her perspective and was like, okay,
Hmm.
I've had some negative experiences in the past. I'm working on myself and I'm ready to move forward. She was like
Hmm.
creating this vision of a healthy relationship and what that looked like,
Right.
and being able to, I want to say, intentionally write down the qualities and, I guess, the boundaries and things that she wants in a healthy relationship.
Hmm.
She ended up being in a relationship like a couple months later, and she was like, "Thank you."
Wow. Yeah.
So perspective is everything. How we are looking
Yeah.
at a situation, it matters.
Hmm.
So this
Yeah.
person that wrote in, like, what is her perspective on dating?
Hmm.
Because if she's still in the mindset that all men are going to hurt her and they're all like the one in the past, that's what you're going to attract. We attract what we focus
Hmm.
on. So stop focusing
Right.
on what you don't want. Ask yourself, what do you want?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's really good. And it kind of goes back to what they say about like the things that we think about. If all you're thinking about is negative things, then it's going to produce negative fruit
Hmm.
in real life. And to your point, if a person is thinking in their mind, like, I don't want to be in a relationship, I'm not ready, like that's what you're going to see manifested, for lack of a better term, in the physical.
Yeah,
Is that's all you're telling yourself, is that you're not ready and that you're not going to meet anybody. But the minute you shift that narrative, you change your thoughts and you start to, for lack of a better term, meditate on something that you actually do want, you'll start to see that change. And
absolutely.
clearly, that requires us putting in work and taking action. Like you said before, you got to do something.
Yes, yes. And, she said that she's doing the inner work.
Hmm.
Sometimes we have to really ask ourselves, are we really doing
Hmm.
the deep work that's required?
Yeah.
Um, as a mindset coach, there's like certain, I guess, analogies and different things that we use, but it's like, as people, we have two different
Hmm.
images of ourselves. The one on the outside that we show to the world, how we walk, how we talk, how we show up on the outside. And then we have our inner self image of how we really feel about ourselves. It's like that inner mirror that
Yeah.
we look at. But that inner self
Right.
image, that is how we show up to the world. We can't hide that. So if you
Mhm.
are feeling insecure, or you feel like, you're not good enough, or you feel like everybody's going to hurt you, that energy that you are projecting out there into the world, that's what you're going to
Mhm.
get. So
Yeah,
if you're really
that's
doing the
facts.
inner work, then it would shift your perspective even more
Mhm.
to say, I am valued, knowing what your worth is and having a positive vision of what you want for a healthy relationship so that you can project that, because we attract what we're in harmony with, right?
Right. That's facts. And once a woman gets to that point where she's like, okay, I'm ready to get back out there and, start trying, what are some actions that you would recommend her to take, whether she's fresh off the divorce or divorced and has gone through some healing?
Okay, so I'll give you some things that I had to do.
Okay.
One, I had to take an honest look at myself and say, what do I want? And
Mm,
who do I want to be? I feel like sometimes when you're in a relationship, especially if it ends in a way that you didn't want it to, that version of yourself may not necessarily be the version of you that you want to be. So,
mm,
I had a friend ask me, like, who is Makini Smith? And this person asked me this, like, over 10 years ago when I was going through my divorce. And at the time, I didn't know who I was. I knew that
mm,
I was somebody's wife. I spent my entire life trying to be the best mom, best wife, all these things for other people. But I had to take a look at me and what my
mhm,
values were and what my boundaries are and what I truly want. So making like a physical list of
mhm.
those things so that we know who we are. So people don't come in and cross that boundary, or we don't allow people or give people the power to treat us in a way that we don't want to be treated.
Right.
So I would start there. And then, two, like I said, make sure you're in places where you can meet real human beings.
Yes. That's important.
Right. And I mean, in this day and age, because of technology and scammers and all these things, like, I also recommend, if you choose to do the online dating route, to be very careful.
Mhm.
Make sure that people are who they say they are. You're not being
Right.
catfished, that you're actually like
Mhm.
seeing the person face to face or
Yes.
FaceTime or what have you. Um, I also think that it's important to be honest with those around you about what your
Mhm,
fears are, about what your boundaries are, about all of those things. I think,
mhm,
you know, it takes courage to be vulnerable, but I think it's
mhm.
required in order to have the depth of relationships that we're looking for. Like, as much
Mhm.
as someone has hurt you in the past, it's going to require you to be vulnerable to get to that place that you want to get to. Um, Otherwise, you're walking around with your guard up, and
Yeah.
I feel I feel like when someone's been hurt or burned, they have
Mhm.
this wall that is so high that
Right.
they are blocking out the people who are trying to come in to love them. And yes, you want it high enough
Mhm.
that not everybody can get over, but you're blocking the blessings. So,
Yeah.
don't have it so low that everybody can come in. But
Right.
but having this wall that where you're firm about your boundaries, but you're not rigid, per
Mhm.
se, because I feel like sometimes as we're healing, we set up these boundaries to protect ourselves, but at the same time, we don't want those walls to prevent us from the blessings that we deserve.
Right. Nah, that's good. Yo, you've been dropping gems. Everything that you're saying is right on point. Before we wrap up, are there any last or closing words or thoughts that you would like to leave with Sabrina or any other real lovers that may be in this position?
Yes, I'm a true believer in affirmations because I
Hmm.
believe that words have power. They have power to build us up or destroy us. And I
Right.
think that internally we are saying a lot of words that are not helpful for us.
Yeah.
So I am going to recommend to anyone that is listening to write out some affirmations that speak to you. You know, if it requires, you saying, like, I am worthy, I deserve love, deserve joy, like all of those things. But I find that there are some people that are so far removed from the belief of, the affirmation of what it is that they're saying,
Yeah.
I had a guest on my podcast where she shifted my perspective a little bit and said, for those type of
Mhm.
people, you want to say things like, I am on my way to becoming, and then
Mm,
whatever it is, until you get to that place where you can say I am. But
right.
we don't realize every single day the things that we're manifesting intentionally and
Mhm.
unintentionally. So be careful. Your
Right.
imagination is extremely powerful, and the thoughts
Mhm.
and visions that you are having in your head, you're manifesting them in real life. So if you don't want those negative things to happen, stop allowing your imagination to run rampant and go down that rabbit hole of negativity. Be
Yeah.
intentional. Check yourself when you find yourself having those negative thoughts or beliefs about what's possible for your future and what you want. So the affirmations and positive visualization.
Mhm. Yeah, that's super important. And definitely before we go, let everybody know how they can get in contact with you, and definitely let them know about your amazing podcast that's perfect for women that's in that phase of trying to heal themselves.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So my podcast is called the Heal Her Podcast, and I interview resilient women who are on their journey to wholeness. They're sharing the deep, the dirty, the things that you may see their highlight reel on social media, and not know
Mhm.
that they have a deep, deep story. So we
Yeah.
talk about those things and the tips and tools and gems that they have to leave. So that's available on all podcast platforms. And for myself, you can Google me, Makini Smith. Or, I mean, the website's awalkamongstilettos.com. If you're looking for coaching, or my books are available online everywhere. I'm most often playing around on Instagram. I answer my DMs over there. So you can find me at The Real Makini Smith.
All right, perfect. And I'm gonna make sure I add the links to everything that you mentioned, your podcast, your website, your IG, all of that good stuff will be in the description for those who want to show you some love and support you. But Makini, as always, thank you for coming on, being a guest on the podcast. You always rock out and drop so many gems, and I truly appreciate you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you for having me. And I always appreciate you reaching out and allowing me to co create these experiences with you. So thank you.
Yo, it's a blessing. Thank you.